G'day everybody, Max right here, and fun video today with 3 reasons why a Bitcoin all-time high is definitely possible in the next 30 days. It might happen, it might not happen, but I think it's a reasonable chance, probably more than 50%. But here's the best part. Later on this video, after I explain the reasons, I'm going to show you a fun way to trade it, where I'll show you the entry points where we can minimize our risk. I'll show you the stop losses. I'll show you where a good point to take profits might be. So you'll find out all about my targets at the end of this video. So, could this happen? Absolutely it can. I'll show you the reasons why I think it's definitely a can, maybe even a likely. And we'll talk about that risk-reward ratio and how to play it. So, reason number 1. Let me know in the comments below who you think I'm impersonating. That's a fun one. By the way, if you're new to the channel, when I'm in a good mood, I do impersonations of people, so that's fun to look at. Let's get this on auto here. Okay, reason number 1. So if you are new to the channel, you might not be familiar with my thesis. So my thesis is that we are repeating a cup and handle. It doesn't look like a textbook version of a cup and handle, but we are repeating a cup and handle of previous cycles. So this is the peak in 2013, December of 2013, peaks out around $1,200. And you get this nice parabola shape here, known as the cup. And you get back to the all-time high on this one. You get back to just below the all-time high, actually. And then you get a big correction, and this part here, and that's the handle. So you got the big long cup, and then you got the handle. Very famous pattern in charting, technical analysis. A lot of people use this one. So now you know what a cup and handle looks like. And what I've called, actually, let's just, we'll go ahead and we'll copy this here. Let's get the bars pattern, and we will take it from here to here, let's say. And what that's done is it has copied all of these candles here so that I can take it over and bring it in. So let's bring this to this all-time high. And we'll get that in here. I'm going to have to expand this up a little bit. That went a little bit too far. Little bit. I'm trying to overlay the cup and handle with this. So, okay, now let's get back on auto. So here we see this cup and handle, and if you've watched my videos in the past, you'll know when we had this massive run-up right in the middle of this cup and handle, I was like, this is going to be overextension, and I'm predicting I'm going to come back down, probably overshoot, and come back up and join this, go back to this cup and handle. And so far, that is what has seemingly played out. I wanted to put that there so you could see the overlay. But what is most interesting here is in the cup and handle, the steepest parts, the weirdly steepest parts, are at the very beginning when you fall off that all-time high. It crashes down steep. And then it gets less steep and less steep and less steep and less steep, and then it flattens out. And then it gets more steep and more steep and more steep and more steep, and then eventually it is very, very steep as we approach the all-time high on the other side of the cup and handle. Okay, I'm going to get this out of the way now so we can see it. So we've got this concept of, my thesis is that we are in a cup and handle despite this god-awful lump in the middle of our cup. But this is a cup, and I am predicting we go very, very steeply up to this mark, the all-time high, and then we have our correction, and we have a handle back down here before we go up and eventually break through the 20K for good, okay? Next, we have been operating in this channel now for about a month. As what we would predict, we're coming up quite relatively steeply here, and then as we get closer to the other side of the cup, we get even steeper, and now we're operating in this channel. So let's take a look at this. If this channel were to maintain, if it were to continue, that would put us in the middle of this channel. Something about the 6th of December would be something along our where it will kiss our all-time high. The prediction is we kiss the all-time high, come back down for the handle. If we stay in this channel right now, well, that's going to take us through to the 6th or so of December. So very, very interesting. So reason number 1, the cup and handle. If it is playing out, we would expect it to be very, very steep when we get there. Okay, reason number 2, I'm going to come back here and check my notes. Timing. Let's talk about timing here a little bit. So I want to come back to previously, We kissed the all-time high here on the like the 5th of January, I believe it was, in 2017. 5th of January, after like 3 years it took us to get back to the all-time high with the previous cup and handle. Now this occurred on the 5th of January. However, the halving in this year occurred in July of 2016. In July of 2016, that's when the halving occurred. If you don't know what the halving is or the significance of it, please search on my channel. You'll find some good explanations of the halving and the significance of it with the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin. This year, the halving was in May. May instead of July, 2 months earlier. So possibly that is an indication that we will get to our, if we measure when we reach the other side of that cup, or when we hit that all-time high, as you measure it as a distance from the halving, we are due for it right now in the next 30 days, if patterns were to repeat from previous years. So that was reason number 2. Now, reason number 3 is that the indicators have time. We can see, look, this is an explosive move up here. Like, this is not messing around. Let's get a measure on this. Look, let's take it from here to here. We are talking, in the space of 40 days, a 60% increase in the price of Bitcoin. That is not messing around, right? Not messing around at all. But we have, so you would think that a lot of our indicators would be at their maximums, like they would be exhausted. But let's check out the RSI here. You can see we are down here right now at 76. But previously, just in the last few years, the moves don't get exhausted, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, until we're up here 85, 87 on the RSI, and we're down here at 75. So we have room with the indicators before this move is exhausted. Let's check out our money flow. Same story. We are down here at 78. Very often the moves don't get exhausted until the 90 range. Okay, we'll see this. And the stochastic RSI, this is beautiful right now. This is just on the daily we're talking about, but we are down here. It's crossed over, it just crossed over, and very often when it does that, it'll shoot all the way up here to the top. So many of our indicators here are showing that there is a lot of room for Bitcoin to move forward, right? So there are 3 reasons for why I think it is definitely a possibility that we get this all-time high in the next 30 days. And let's throw in, for good measure, one more. Let's get back to our Bitcoin chart here. What I want to look at now, this yellow line is the 21-week moving average. It's a very important line in Bitcoin's history. It throughout the bull markets, you see it constantly comes down and retests it, retests it, retests it, retest it, retest it, retest it, retest it, retest it. Like it's a very, very important line in the Bitcoin storyline. Now, when we went to the other side of this cup, okay, here we are, 5th of January 2017. Let's take a measured move here and see how far extended we are past the all-time high. From here to here, we are 62% extended beyond the 21-week moving average, right? As a result of this very steep run-up coming here as we hit the other side of the cup. It goes nearly vertical there for a little while. All right, so let's take that indicator over here and check that out and see our 21 weekly moving averages here. And let's see, if we were to hit this target around about here, hit somewhere near the all-time high, somewhere around 5th of December, something like this, where would the 21-week moving average be? You can see the steepness of this line. It's going seriously up. If we take this forward to like 5th of December, I think it's perfectly reasonable to think the 21 weekly moving average will be about here. And if we come up here, we are talking 61%, almost identical to the previous cup and handle routine of the previous cycle. Okay, very, very interesting. So now we ask ourselves the question: maybe you think that these arguments I've put forth have some validity. Maybe you think, okay, maybe we can get an all-time high pretty quickly. How can we play this in a safe way if we want to capture those gains, but we want to minimize our risk? Now we get into risk-reward strategy. We get into getting good entry points. And this is a really, really important thing. I have people, all kinds of comments on my channel and things like that. People are saying, when's the top? When's the bottom? When should I buy? And I would submit to everybody that is asking those types of questions, it's okay, I used to ask those types of questions too. You're asking the wrong question. If you're trying to pick the top and the bottom, it's a mug's game. You don't want to be playing that game. What you want to be doing is choosing good entry points where you can safely do something. So let me give you examples of how that might be, because we're going to get chances to do that here. Ready? So let's zoom up. We'll bring it nice and tight now for the last little bit of the Bitcoin price. But our 20K target is on here. So the question becomes, when do we make a buy? And what we want to do is we want to make buys at a good entry point. What's the definition of a good entry point? My definition is I can get into a trade where I can set a stop loss very, very close. Stop loss is my insurance. If the trade's going against me, it turns out I was wrong, which happens all the time, and it will for you too. I want to be able to say, well, when it breaks this line, when it breaks this trend, when it breaks this moving average, when it breaks something, that's a good indicator I was wrong, and I want to cut my losses and get out of that trade. That's a stop loss. So let's bring it in here right now. So part of the thesis is that we might be staying in this channel all the way up until we get to the all-time high, where I expect it to bounce off and do the handle. Okay, so one thesis is this this trend line right here, right? If we come down to this trend line, like let's just say, for example, let's say the price goes up, and let's just say it comes over to like here, right? And so in like a 2-3 weeks time, we're over here, right? This would be a phenomenal entry point because I'm right near this trend line, right? If it bounced off that trend line and started heading up, this would be a great time to buy because I can set my stop loss right here. And if I'm wrong, I get out of my trade very quickly and I take a very small loss. But if I'm right, I've got all this upside to get. So the risk-reward ratio would be fantastic. So now if you don't understand that concept, you might be thinking, well, wait, you paid more. You could have bought Bitcoin here, and instead you bought Bitcoin when the price was higher. Max, you didn't get the lowest price. Yes, but I couldn't buy at a good entry point here because I'm so far away from my lines of support. I use this as an example because here we have a trend line. Now there are other lines of support here. And so that is good to know. This, by the way, this is not a line of support. That is there for a different reason, for something else I was doing for somebody else. So I want you guys to understand the concept of the entry point. The entry point is good where you can set a really tight stop loss. So let's say we ended up coming over near this line, which would be great. We'd get a really good entry point. And it broke through this trend line. Fantastic. We get stopped out of the trade. We take a small loss. And let's say it comes all the way back down here to this trend line, right? Which is 13.3. Like that would just be phenomenal news. I would love that to happen because I do believe like at some point we are gathering steam, we are gathering momentum, and we are heading up towards this all-time high. This all-time high, if it doesn't happen in the next 30 days, it's going to happen in the next 6 months. I'm extremely confident of that. Do your own research. So if there was another excuse to get near another trend line, that would be another great entry point. I would love for the Bitcoin price to come all the way back down here and then shoot up here, whatever, and right on this trend line of 13.354, I would get, just making sure this is a trend line and not something I just was working with. Yeah, no, it is. It is. And so if I could get near this trend line, I would have another great entry point because I could watch it bounce off here, hopefully. And as it starts to come up, I'm like, okay, we bounced off. We confirm that that is important. I can buy here and set a stop loss here, right? So let's see how that works. So I want to show, we'll use our long position tool here. So let's say, we'll go back to this one here. Our target, and remember, it didn't go all the way to the all-time high, so we might set our target at something like 19,500, right? And what I'm looking for is, we'll take the example down here. Let's say we were interacting with this green line here. And let's say the price comes all the way down. I would wait for the price to bounce off, pop up, confirm that as support, and maybe make an entry point here. Because look at what I can achieve here. A risk-reward ratio of 11. If I'm wrong, this isn't support and it breaks through, I set my stop loss, I get out of the trade, and I lose 3%. But if I'm right, and it bounces and it comes up and it heads back up to this line, I make a gain of 40%. That's why, if you try to just pick the bottom, pick the top, it's a mug's game. It's not what professional traders do. You're looking for good entry points. That's the key. And so we don't have a great entry point right now, but I want you guys to be aware of this overall strategy so that you guys can look for entry points. Use your trend lines, use your other things. I'll be doing it here on the channel as well. And I believe, yeah, like there's another strong trend line, like right here, parallel to this. Check this out. Look at this trend line here. Pretty close to it. Maybe that's not quite the right angle, like here. But we've got touch, touch. I need to improve that one, and it's off the screen. Something along these lines here. And we've got touch, 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 touch. So we might have, if it does break out of this channel, it might come down, bounce off this trend line and look up. And so that's the kind of skill I'm trying to share with you guys right now, looking for a good entry point. I think, we're going to all-time highs soon. That's the belief. Do I just jump in anywhere? No, I'm looking for a good entry point. See if you guys can find some other entry points. Let me know in the comments below if you've got a good entry point for how to get into Bitcoin. If this plays out and we hit the all-time high, maybe in the next 30 days, maybe sometime soon. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. Please share, subscribe, like, do all the wonderful things. I've got 19,400 subscribers. I've set myself the target, 20,000 subscribers before Bitcoin hits $20,000. If you can help me out, shares and subscribes are especially wonderful. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you in the next video.